Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, today we convene at a pivotal moment on the global stage, a moment defined by high-stakes diplomacy, shifting power balances, and a world watching closely. Our first narrative unfolds in the heart of Beijing, where three prominent leaders, President Xi Jinping of China, President Vladimir Putin of Russia, and Supreme Leader Kim Jong Un of North Korea, have converged at an extraordinary trilateral summit. Held on September 2, 2025, the gathering brings together figures often described as pariahs by Western standards, and yet, through this rare meeting, project a striking image of solidarity. Xi, greeting Putin as a dear friend, celebrated a bond with Russia without parallel, while Kim's arrival via his armored, gold-embellished 21-carriage bullet-proof train makes this one of his most conspicuous international appearances to date. The three are expected to share the stage at China's Grand Military Parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of World War II's end, an event teeming with symbolism, one that underscores their collective narrative of resistance to Western hegemony. In parallel, our second story brings us to the United States and Alaska's joint base Elmendorf-Richardson. On August 15, 2025, in a surprising turn of events, former President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin convened for a summit and subsequent press conference. The tone was neither combative nor conclusive. Instead, it was strangely muted. Putin opened the press remarks, asserting an understanding with Trump on Ukraine, while Trump retreated to the cautious but familiar phrase, "There is no deal until there is a deal." Reporters were kept waiting, no questions were taken, a rarity many deemed disconcerting. Two narratives, worlds apart, yet intriguingly parallel. In Beijing, we witness emerging authoritarian power centers signaling unity and defiance. In Alaska, we observe a fraught dialogue clouded with ambiguity, where even the simplest questions remain unanswered. In this speech, I will explore four keynotes, two drawn from the Beijing Summit and two from the Trump-Putin encounter, each offering insight into shifting alliances, geopolitical messaging, and the uncertain path of global diplomacy. First, we will talk about Beijing Summit, symbolism and strategic alignment in Beijing, the convergence of Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong Un exudes powerful symbolism. This event, remarkable not only for its high-profile attendees, but also for its deliberate choreography, cements a political narrative, a united front of authoritarian regimes challenging Western dominance. Xi's reference to Putin as his dear friend, and his assertion that bilateral relations are at an unprecedented level, reflect deep personal and political alignment with Moscow. For his part, Putin's presence amid the pageantry of China's Victory Day parade signals his need for legitimization and shared global messaging. Kim's arrival is equally loaded with significance. His use of an opulent armored train dubbed the Moving Fortress is a deliberate, visually arresting affirmation of power and isolation. Circumvented, this marks his first multilateral appearance in years, giving a fresh boost to his international standing. Analysts suggest this is more than symbolism. It is a triangular diplomatic front that threatens to deepen defense and economic cooperation among the three. Moreover, the event's backdrop, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Summit and the military parade, amplifies the message. The SCO, originally a regional grouping, is being positioned as an ideological and strategic counterweight to Western alliances like NATO. The parade, featuring advanced weaponry, missiles, drones, and even a mystery laser, visually underscores this rising alliance's readiness to project force and influence in a global context. These developments challenge the U.S.-led liberal order by signaling an alternative multipolar world, one governed not by Western institutions, but by emerging authoritarian blocs unified by self-interest and mutual distrust of Western influence. Now we will talk on economic and military implications of the Sino-Russo-Diplomatic trio. Beyond pageantry, the summit carries substantial strategic weight. Economic and military cooperation among China, Russia, and North Korea stands poised to reshape regional dynamics and raise concern in Western capitals. First, economic ties deepen visibly. Reuters notes that Gazprom and China's state energy giant signed a long-term gas supply deal, likely extending up to 3 decades. Such agreements not only assure Russia of stable markets, but also anchor China's energy security outside Western sanctions. This energy integration reinforces their mutual interests. On the military front, the optics of Kim joining this lineup suggests a potential broadening of defense collaboration. Reports point to previous defense pacts between Russia and North Korea, and analysts suspect that China may join this web of cooperation, effectively forming a regional security triad capable of joint military drills. Such coordination could directly challenge U.S. influence and its security partnerships in East Asia, particularly with Japan and South Korea. North Korea benefits substantially. Kim's appearance alongside Putin and Xi invokes implicit recognition of his regime, particularly its nuclear stature, from 2 of the most geopolitically significant allies. This may embolden Pyongyang's nuclear posture while deepening interdependence with its neighbors. The alignment also tests India's role within the SCO and the broader regional order. Though Prime Minister Modi attended the summit, India's absence from the parade and its careful diplomatic posture reveal New Delhi's balancing act between economic ties with Russia and China and its strategic alignment with the West. No, we will talk Alaska summit. Ambiguity over substance shift now to Alaska, August 15, 2025. The Trump-Putin, in sum, it was anticipated as a potential diplomatic breakthrough. Yet instead of congressional scripts or news-making Q and as, what unfolded was a muted stage devoid of dialogue, an absence as telling as any concession. Press access was starkly limited. No questions were asked, no probing follow-ups allowed, a move that drew sharp criticism and bewilderment. Putin took the podium first, unusual, given the U.S. host typically leads such presentations. He proclaimed an understanding with Trump on Ukraine and urged Europe not to torpedo the nascent progress. Trump, for his part, avoided bold declarations. He leaned on cautious optimism, no deal until there is a deal, and framed follow-up diplomacy as essential, promising to consult with allies and Ukraine's leader, Volodymyr Zelensky. Critics across the aisle found the event disconcerting. Some described it as the worst U.S.-Russia summit in recent memory, highlighting its theatrical ambiguity. Supporters, however, viewed it as a stepping stone toward peace negotiations, even if no formal outcome emerged. The optics, a lighting fast handshake and silence, the substance elusive, the legacy still undecided, a summit that avoided confrontation but failed to forge clarity. Now we will talk about diplomatic strategy. Amid uncertainty, what does the Alaska summit tell us about modern diplomacy? It underscores how political theater can obscure policy and how ambiguity and even silence can serve as tactical tools. First, by curtailing media engagement and evading Q&A, both leaders controlled the narrative tightly. Putin used his opening remarks to shape an understanding framed in his favor. Trump's refrain avoided missteps but created uncertainty, another example of form overshadowing content. Second, the summit highlighted the complexity of negotiating peace in an era of polarized alliances. Trump dangled hope by praising progress and announcing future calls to Zelensky and NATO, yet he withheld commitments. Putin, meanwhile, presented calm confidence, embedding his line of shared progress. Yet no tangible deal on Ukraine emerged. Third, the event's ambiguity shouldn't obscure its political value. For Trump, projecting potential détente with Russia aligns with his America First brand and negotiation style, using openness hashed with restraint. For Putin, it's a platform to cast himself as a statesman still engaged even as war continues in Ukraine. Finally, the glaring absence of questions underscores a troubling trend, diplomacy becoming increasingly scripted. When leaders avoid unscripted exchanges, the public loses insight, and as audiences, we become spectators rather than Participants in global affairs, we find ourselves at two diplomatic crossroads. In Beijing, we witness a rising alliance formed on shared distrust of the West, showcased with pomp and power. In Alaska, we see diplomacy stripped to stage a craft words without answers, gestures without clarity. Both test the resilience of global order. Both remind us that in today's age, power is conveyed not just through treaties, but through appearance, posture, interaction, or conspicuous silence. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe for support.